How are you?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm great. I'm great. I think how's the group? How are we doing? I see smiles. I think we're doing overall. I think we're doing really, yeah, thumbs up, smiles. That's a collective fantastic from the group. We're happy that you're here. You know, you are our student right now, and maybe more students will join. But it's fantastic to see you. Where are you at Montgomery College right now?
I'm currently at TPSS. We just had our student senate meeting. It ended at 6.
Okay, all right. And what role do you have in the student senate?
I am a student senator, and I am the secretary for the student activities board and the
nice.
subcommittee.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And she chairs the community service committee.
Oh, you're holding back on me. All these wonderful things that you're doing. It's great. Well, yeah.
There goes another buddy.
All right.
And
we're being joined.
We have another one coming too. I'm like trying to text everybody.
Yeah, thank you. So, what do you So, what's on your mind, Swetcha? You have any questions or comments? I know this is an opportunity. So I'm new. I just want to share that and kind of level set. And this is an opportunity for me, and I think for other individuals who are here and part of the the MC team, to hear from students. And so we're fully embracing this, and comments, questions. Would love to answer questions. Love to hear comments. Things that you love about Montgomery College, things that you'd like to see changed, or things you'd like to ask me or anybody who's here tonight. So love to hear from you.
Yes, I want to know, what are your plans? Like, what do you plan to improve at our college right now?
Yeah, I know, right? That is so, and I appreciate that question so much. And at this point in time, one of the big components of my plan, what's my plan, is to do what I'm doing right now, is to listen, right? Is to listen and to learn and find out from everyone who has been here, far longer than I. What are the successes that we can build on, and what are the opportunities that we see, and what do our students want? And so, I think for me, the plan is, within that listening and learning, is to identify those successes so we can amplify those, and then really find out what are some things that we're not doing that we could be. What are some things that we could be exploring, things that maybe we have thought of before, or things that we just, items we haven't even thought of. So that's really, as far as my current plan, those items embody my current plan. There's a lot that's going on and has been at Montgomery College for quite some time. And it's not even just a foundation, it's the structure that's been built is so solid. So coming in and learning about that, and seeing how we can again bolster, what's happening, and identify new successes. So.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I see we have some more students, and would love to hear from you. I'm so glad you're joining. I don't know if you were in the student senate meeting as well, but if you were, I appreciate the quick transition. Fareen?
Yes. I just came from the student senate meeting as well, and I had a question about your work style. How do you stay organized, and what is your work style and leadership style?
Oh, great. So it's interesting. I used to stay organized with Post-it notes. I'm a very task-oriented person, and Post-it notes I like being able to scratch things off. And so I don't do this anymore, but for the longest time, I would write lists, and just a sense of fulfillment, accomplishment, knowing that I was able to contribute, I would, mark things off the list. And I think now the way I do that is, within my calendar, my electronic calendar, is I don't really have any free time, but I try and time block. So you asked how I stay organized. There's a method called time blocking. And if you Google that, you can identify, okay, so I'm going to dedicate, it's just kind of context clues. It is what it sounds. You identify a certain number of minutes, certain amounts of time that you're going to dedicate to projects, right? And what it does, ideally, what it does is it keeps you focused on that project for that period of time. It also kind of puts parameters, so you don't necessarily have to be done with that project, but you can know that you've contributed to kind of the advancement of that project. And sometimes, you know, for me, you can get wrapped up, and I don't know if if other people experience this, I can just get wrapped up in working on the same thing for hours, right? And especially if you're talking about like writing a dissertation or something, some sort of big project, next thing you know, it's like the next day. Where time blocking permits you, at least for me, the opportunity to work on several items, still advance several items, and you're keeping that moving, so you're meeting your goal. So I would say the time blocking is a piece that I've really grown accustomed to. The as far as leadership style, I would say it's, you know, really an inclusive leadership style. I like to be able to hear from different individuals, different constituency groups, really be able to, you know, get the perspectives. And for me, it's this kind of continuum of, you know, from like sympathy to empathy to compassion. And, you know, being able to go from that kind of sympathy to empathy, I can really experience that and live in your moment and live in your shoes, to compassion, whereas I'm able to act based on that level of empathy. I think you get I use I statements. I get that from being able to hear the perspectives of individuals. It's also how I make sense of just almost everything. I ask a lot of questions as part of my leadership style, as part of the, you know, inclusive approach to a leadership style. I would say, and another piece, and I'm sure for so many of us here, it's a multifaceted leadership style. It's not just one component. Is, you know, this, some people call it a servant leadership. This idea that you really want to lead in a way that is inclusive and also uplifting the people who you're collaborating with, right? It's like, so how are we working with individuals in a way that is helping to help us be our best selves, right? How as a leader am I, you know, working with Dr. Brown or Cherry Jones, or, you know, kind of you know, Dr. Rai, and saying, wow, let's examine kind of the characteristics that are opportunities, and seeing how we can explore those through our projects and initiatives, so that we're also developing ourselves, right? And we're becoming our best selves. Because, you know, another part of that leadership is, and I'll end here, is this idea of situational leadership, which I've found to be key as I've gone through my leadership journey, which I'm still going through. It's identifying, so, hey, you know, Jermaine, you know, you've been assigned this project. Let's talk about your knowledge, skills, and abilities around this specific project. Because I know you're, you know, you seem to be kind of smart, and you know, you seem to be, you know, quick learner. But I've never ever asked you to, you know, hang drywall. I don't really know how good you are at that. Why don't you tell me about the last time you did it? And then I say, you know what? I've never done that, and I've never done it when it has involved electricity and running current through the inside of the wall. And I've never done it when it involves plumbing. And I've also never done it in, you know, this type of atmosphere. You go, wow, Jermaine, let me set you up with the tools that you'll need to be successful, right? That's kind of the situational leadership that my leader would say, all right, this is a specific task. I really want to identify where you are, as opposed to saying, hey, I think you're really good all around. I'm going to give you this, go run with it. Because then I come back in 3 months and I'm like, you know what? We don't have any running water, and we don't have an electricity, and we definitely don't have a wall. that hides all that stuff. So I'll end with that because it's, you know, a little long-winded, but I appreciate the question.
I think we
Thank
also had we had one other new person come in. So just to reiterate to everyone, if you have any questions, you can either put them in the chat or just raise your hand like Swetsa just did. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. New question?
Yes.
Or the hand still? All right.
Swetsa, you're muted.
Okay, I thought somebody else was talking. My question to you is, what are some characteristics a good leader should have?
Wow, I think you know, it's interesting, and I would invite my colleagues to join in. I think it at times it depends. I think that too can be situational, and I say this. I think there are some salient pieces that I always lead with as a leader, but it's interesting. I think there are leaders for times. I think there are leaders for times and for places. And a leader who can excel at a certain time and place. You think about some organizations, and I'll talk about organizations in terms of broad, not just higher education, are in a transition phase. And they need maybe like a turnaround leader, right? They need someone who's going to be able to come in and do A through L, and that is their job within, you know, 2 to 3 years, right? They're trying to turn around, right? And then the next person is going to come in and they will be like the foundational, right, piece. They're gonna like, okay, I'm going to spend time building all these items. Now that we've done the turnaround, I'm going to spend time building the foundation, right? And then you have leaders who are coming in and say, wow, the foundation has been built. I want to come in and I want to, you know, help the organization go to the next level, right? I want to help us elevate. And how do we do that? How do we be, you know, take on these ideas of transformation and innovation, right? And then you have, you know, for our time here at Montgomery College, I would posit, you know, I'm coming in as, how do I take this history of transformation and innovation, right? And how do I leverage the role that I'm overjoyed and humbled to have to amplify that, right? We're you know, and that involves, again, building on successes, but it also involves, as I said, identifying, you know, what we have yet to explore. And the way in which I do that, you know, as a leader is through compassion, is through empathy, is through that servant leadership model. But I think, you know, holistically, there are, you know, leaders for times and for spaces, and we have some fantastic leaders here with us, students included in that comment. So I would invite and open it up to anybody else who might have anything to share about what makes a good leader.
Dr. Williams, I'll add, and I'm glad you said empathy. As we talked about, you know, what leadership looks like, or what should it look like in a post-pandemic environment. And I know we're moving from a pandemic to an endemic, but empathy is a key leadership characteristic, and that's one that I think is called for in the times in which we're living, and expected, and I would even say needed, as we lead, as Dr. Williams said, whether you're leading from where you are in the Senate, leadership on a personal level in your family, or leadership in terms of a job or a career. Just being able to do so by caring for others. So I would say care and concern are very good qualities and necessary qualities. And I would add being someone who is trustworthy and someone who, you know, people can trust what you say and do. And so modeling the way, I think, is a very important aspect of leadership. I'll toss it to another leader here.
Yeah, Kuz and Posner's. That's one of the components. Modeling the way is one of those.
Absolutely.
I taught that back a couple of decades ago. Student leadership
Okay.
challenge. Student leadership
Excellent.
challenge. Yeah.
All right, okay. Leave it to Dean P. Nort. He's always up for a challenge. So Dean P. Nort, with your yes, sir.
Wait, am I being called on, Dr. Brown?
Yes, you are. You're being called out, sir.
Let's see. I would probably add to this conversation maybe authenticity. At least for me, is what I try to be and also what I look for in leaders. So just being your genuine self. I was having a conversation with somebody actually earlier today about just being who you are and letting that kind of exude through. As I'm being super authentic today, I know you referenced me as Dean Pinort, but right now I'm dad, so I'm chilling. But that authenticity, I think, is important when you're in these leadership roles. So that's what I would add.
Yeah, I agree. Certainly, Dr. Williams put it together and very well. And Monica, empathy, care, compassion. I'm always, I admire Mahatma Gandhi. And what he said, lead by example. If you look at Mahatma Gandhi, he was not the great orator. He was not a great writer. So what made him a leader that brought changes not only in one part of the world, but in several parts of the world? The idea of nonviolent movement. And it was all leading by example. British put, taxes, all kind of taxes on farmers. And there were not enough food for people to eat. So he said, okay, the entire country will fast. Every third day, everyone is fasting. And guess who is fasting first? Mahatma Gandhi. Leading by example. There is so much power in truth. And I encourage everyone to read his book, My Experiments with Truth. That's his autobiography. Very powerful. Every summer, if I don't read anything else, I read that for sure. Every summer I read that. I gave a copy to Dr. Dukes. And it's very good, very good. I strongly encourage everyone to read that.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Rai. Any other, yes, I see.
Yeah, I would just add to, I want to underscore what Dr. Williams said about leaders in certain times and spaces. And it used to be that leaders were really, praised for being consistent and fair, and that is important. But we've had a lot of meetings this week where we've talked about having to be a leader in an evolving world, and how you can't just be consistent, because the reality is that, the ground underneath us is changing, and what made sense yesterday may not make sense today. And we have to be able to pivot and make changes while still, getting the buy-in, making sure that people understand what has changed and why the decision today is different than it was last week. And I think that's important as you see leadership evolving too. And just also to say that, Dr. Williams does an incredible job of asking questions and listening. Not just asking the questions and hearing, but of also listening and processing it. And I think you have some incredible leaders to watch and to see how they make adjustments as needed.
Thank you all. So this is a wealth of just I've been so blown away in such a great way as far as the MC team, and so I thank you all for sharing your thoughts on leadership. It's such a wealth of knowledge that we have here and experience. So other thoughts from, I know we have some students, questions. What's your favorite thing about Montgomery College. And I saw another question. FA, I don't know the name though. Name change.
Oh, sorry.
Patty, was that
it's
you?
Patty. Yes. um, my favorite. I have a question, but I will answer
Go
your
for it.
question.
Ask your question. Ask your question.
Okay. I love your question though, because there's a lot I love about MC. But the question I wanted to ask was something that actually came up in the Senate meeting today too. We were wondering, what do you think about expanding the college to have more campuses in Montgomery County?
So thank you for that. And I know this, and this precedes me. I know this conversation has been going on for quite some time, and we're all, several of us, many of us are very excited that the county has supported the opportunity to pursue the education center in East County, right? And when I say county, I mean county executive, county council members are supportive. The county executive actually just recommended our full budget. The college's, I mean, he has a big budget that he recommends, and part of it is the college's budget, and he recommended in totality what we proposed. And within that recommendation is also funds for East County Education Center. So we are aggressively pursuing an education center in East County. Again, precedes me. My thought, and I'll share with the goal ultimately that would transition to be and maybe not the exact location that we initially identify. So I wouldn't say that. I would say with the ultimate goal being another campus in East County. My thoughts are that if there's a need, and based on the studies that I've seen, there is a need, that it's great because it provides greater access to education, for the students of the county, our prospective students and current students potentially of the county, right? It really, for me, speaks to one of our, not only our passions, but our actions here at the college, which is equity, right? So when we think about equity and what it means and so many facets, equity in education, it is about location, right? It's not solely about location, but it's can I actually get to where education is being offered? And we have an opportunity to enhance equity by, placing an education center, and hopefully in the, 7 to 10 years, a campus in the East County, because we know that's an underserved area of the county. So for me, I think it's a fantastic idea. I think what will be the conversations are around ensuring that we're able to meet the needs of the communities, that are within the East County, right? And the county as a whole. So what will, the center, what will the campus look like in terms of educational offerings? There's already been conversations about that, but kind of on the whole, I think it's a great idea because it definitely speaks to our action around equity and education. So what are your favorite things about Montgomery College, or one favorite thing?
My favorite thing is the faculty and staff and all the programs that they put together. I really value all the people that I've met, so I'm really glad that I chose to come here because of that.
That's great. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things too. Awesome. What other Jennifer? Okay. Let's go with
Hi.
Jennifer first. Hi.
Yeah, my favorite thing is honestly the opportunities that are given, like the dual enrollment program and the early college program, which I am a member of. So I'm able to have access to college clubs and take full college classes while I'm still in high school.
That is fantastic. How long have you been participating in the early college program?
This is my second year now.
Okay, great. So you'll graduate high school this year. That's accurate, correct?
Yeah.
Or no? Yes, yes. Okay, wonderful. And then we'll see you at Montgomery College to finish out, or you're going to finish with a credential and transfer?
Yeah, just one more year, I get my associates and I become a registered nurse, and then I can transfer and continue my education.
Oh, that's all, Jennifer, congratulations. That is, I'm gonna throw up a hands clapping for that. That is
Thank you.
fantastic. Absolutely. Okay, we need to, I want to hear more about your story. That is great. That is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Um, uh, Rodis or Rodas?
Yes. One thing that I love about Montgomery College is that like everyone is so welcoming in the school, starting from the professors, from the students. They're always there to help, and that's one thing that made me decide on going to that school. Because when I was in high school, I had a field trip to Montgomery College with the program that I was in, and everyone just was like so welcoming. It's like, okay, this is the school that I'm going to.
Oh, that is great. That is great to hear. I am I'm gonna +1 that because everyone has been super welcoming to me as well. So it really is just to kind of accentuate just it's really the Montgomery College approach. And it's just it's been really inviting and welcoming. So it's great to hear that you're experiencing that as a student as well. What's your major?
I'm a business major.
Okay, great. Excited about that. It's exciting. Are you involved in the Macklin Business Institute?
I'm in a student senate.
All right, great, wonderful. Other thoughts on your favorite component of Montgomery College or questions? You have a lot of knowledgeable people who are here. I don't know what that is.
I think we have a question from Swetza.
I had a response, sorry.
No, go ahead, Swetza.
My favorite thing about Montgomery College is the diversity we have, and also Miss Kimberly Jones. I love you.
It's awesome.
I love you too, Swetza.
That's great. That's great. I apologize for the musical interlude. The Internet of Things was picking up on something, and I'm guessing Siri decided to play a song. So appreciate your understanding with that. But yeah. Farine, is your hand up again?
Yes. Another thing that I love about MC is the fact that I feel like I have a voice. There's so many ways for me to voice my opinions. Like, for example, this meeting right here, and I love that there's lots of opportunities like that, like also student senate, the student council, and I really feel like my voice is being heard here. So that's great.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's something that's very important for all of us is the student voice. You're why we're here. So it's great to hear that there's avenues for you to share your voice and that you feel heard. It's awesome. If you could change one thing about Montgomery College, what would that be? Yeah, Swesha.
Yes, so I would like to change the transportation and shuttle bus. Like, we had a concern regarding that. The hours are around, I think, from 8 to 5, which is not very convenient for a lot of students because the classes start like 7:38. And yes, and on Fridays the shuttle bus ends at 4, but I think the classes every day end at 9:15. aroundish the last class.
Oh, so an extension, it sounds like a little bit more of an alignment with the class offerings. Is it maybe okay?
So I had sent an email to the director of transportation. I think his name is Mr. Mark Pace regarding it. Like, I understand, like, I guess the college doesn't have the budget to do it. I'm not sure if you can do something about it.
Right. Well, thank you for that. I think that's I will ask for a little bit of research on that and see. I can only imagine other students have shared that perspective. So I'm interested to know, what kind of research we've done on it, and where the conversations have gone. So thank you for sharing that.
And
Thank you.
Dr. Williams, I'll share that has come up in the student council
Okay.
meetings, and Mr. Pace has come to the meeting to hear concerns from students, which included what you just heard, along with other concerns, and provided responses. So that's an opportunity that students have had to speak directly to him.
Okay, great. That's great. I will follow up because I'd like to know the responses. It's good for me to learn. So wonderful. All right, okay, serious question. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? This is when the difficult conversation starts.
I think I will have to start, Dr. Williams, on that one. And I may be unique, but I promise I will get you all that flavor one day. Mango.
Yes. Is that more of like is it an ice cream, or is it more of like a kind of like a gelato? Like, is it?
It comes in all forms, but the one I like is ice cream.
Okay. All right. Very nice. I'm a big fan of butter pecan or butter pecan. I don't know however you want to say it, but however you want to say it is still good. What about other folks? I see you laughing, Dr. Scott.
Dr. Williams, I know you have the kiddos. There's a Brewster's in Gaithersburg, in between Germantown and Rockville. That's normally where we go, and I take my 9-year-old. So we need a presidential play day. But Brewster's is a good spot.
Okay, thank you. I will add that to the list. We're always looking for places to go. Can the kids run around after they get that sugar rush before we bring them home?
There's some places you can go. Right across the street is Paramount, and they have a fountain during the summer, and they can run around there. Yeah.
All right.
They have entertainment, all types of stuff.
Okay, I can roll with that. Peach. I see people are chiming in. Ben and Jerry's non-dairy. We are lactose intolerant. Not me, but one of the boys is. So we kind of have to, journey down that pathway too. Make sure you take your lactate pill or whatever it is before you have something. So I'm sure, like all of us, we're maneuvering around allergies and certain responses to ingredients. So, but it's interesting. Cookies and cream. I'm a huge fan of cookies and cream. I saw mint chocolate chip. Okay, here we'll get back to opportunities and challenges. Here's the question for mint chocolate chip. I saw you, Chair Jones. Is it the white or the green?
Oh, the green. Well, I'll eat anything as long as it tastes like mint chocolate chip. So it doesn't really matter. But the green is my favorite. And then if you go to so in Maryland, I don't know outside of Maryland if they have Rita's, but in New York they have Ralph's. You remember in New York we have Ralph's. Over here we have Rita's. I don't know if that's Rita's cousin, but Rita's also has like mint chocolate chip and all of that and icy flavor, and that's incredible.
Yes, Rita's was really big where I grew up, and before they were like all season, the first day they were open, they gave away free Rita's. That was before they were all season. So, but All right, great. So excited, all the waffle cone, yeah, cone of cup, waffle cone. Do we call them sprinkles or jimmies in Maryland? How do we call them?
Sprinkles. I
Okay,
haven't heard
Sprinkles
Jimmy's
are
yet.
what? What was
Definitely
sprinkles are what?
sprinkles.
Jimmy's.
okay,
I've heard
Jimmy's.
Jimmy's in another state, but not this one.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm at. I want to make sure I have my ice cream, lexicon down. I don't want to go and ask for it because sprinkles and yeah, it's kind of like okay, all right.
Dr. Williams,
Um,
we had another question for you.
oh,
It
please.
came from other students. What does one day in your life look like as a president? And is it possible to have a contest of some sort where a student can shadow you for a day?
A day. When I think it might depend on the age of the student because there might be like child labor laws around the number of hours that I work in a day. So depending on that, we could definitely do it. Maybe it's something that follows me throughout the day and then a student can join when I'm like at the office. My days, they can be long. They can start very early and go pretty late. I will say one thing I try to do, and I'm not as good as it right now as I would like to be, is I tend to limit my emails within certain hours. So even though I am up, early in the morning and late at night, unless it's something pressing, something that needs to happen the next day, or I try not to engage people. I'm a big fan, and people, I'll have to ask the individuals who I email a lot how they like this. After a few weeks of me being here, I'm a big fan of delaying emails. So, and probably some of the people on the line know, like you'll receive emails from me, like 4 emails at like 8 a.m. Not because I wrote 4 at 8 a.m., but because I set them to send the night before at 8 a.m. because I didn't want to disrupt people. But then again, that adds another layer of disruption because then you get 4 emails from me at 8 a.m. You're like, oh, whoa, wait, hey, what's all this about? So that's one of the ways in which I manage the time. But I will say, so a normal day, so let's see, today I was up around, well, I got up around 5 o'clock, did some family stuff, emptied the dishwasher, made sure everything was okay with that. Did some work. Then, what time? Made boys lunch, stopped work to make boys lunch, took my oldest to the bus stop, then came back, finished getting ready for work, went to work, officially went to work. Was in meetings all day from about 9:30, kind of back to back, basically until, well, I'm still in meetings. So that was, to the point where Dr. Rye and I were like, we thought we would have a few minutes to meet because the meeting ended early. And then the next meeting kind of went over because there was a meeting after a meeting. And then I was preparing for another meeting. I had a few minutes to do that. And so, but it's not like that every day. I think we would need to find a balanced day where it's not all meetings all the time, because I don't want that to be, because while that's fun, that's not every day. And the great days when I get to meet with students are fantastic. But I would say a lot of it is there's a lot of time spent in meetings. Yeah, it's kind of the way things happen, but it's for good reason, right? Because it's this balance of, and other leaders on the line know this. Once you are, kind of have a certain position, you're not only doing a lot internally, you're doing a lot externally. So for instance, I was sharing before I got on the line, I was at the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce meeting. And, and we were hearing from, someone from the Fed and the Federal Reserve, right? Which is great. It's great context because they were talking about interest rates and workforce and shortage and, what's happening with retirements, because all that we're then talking about in other internal meetings, what's happening with the workforce and how can we, contribute to, our regional economy. And Dr. Rye, he and I were at a economic economic development meeting, right? Montgomery County Economic Development Committee on Monday, and meeting with council members and with the county executive. So it gets to be pretty, complex in terms of internal, external. But we could definitely do a shadow thing. I would like that. And I know I'm going on and on because sometimes days are very different, and I'm trying to add the complexity of the different days within my robust response. So I'll kind of stop there with the internal, external component. And then you have your family situation, right? I like to cook. I like to cook for the family. So I would say like a really good day is if I can get home and cook for the family and be offline from like 6 to like 7:30, be able to cook for the family and then get back online if need be and just kind of knock out emails and respond to things like that. Not send the emails, but reply to them. What I see we have forgive me in advance, sending emails at I'm sending emails at crazy hours. Dr. Williams, how many hours a day do you sleep on average to get all that? I don't want to necessarily promote an unhealthy lifestyle, so I might refrain from answering that question in full transparency. As much as I pride myself on being transparent, I am a work in progress. I do not get as many hours of sleep as I should. I want to start with that. I'm a big proponent of kind of say, do as I say in some instances, not as I do. I try to get the number of hours that I need. My doctor told me that I need 7. And my response to her was like in a row, like all at one time. And she looked at me like, and I was like, well, you didn't clarify. Like, I mean, is it 7 hours like cumulative throughout the week? Like, can I add those all up? Is it like a cap and trade kind of situation? And so she said, no, it's each day. And yes, it needs to be in a row. And my response to her was, I hear you and I will work on it. So that is my response to that. I will say, it's important. You need to take care of yourself. And I do that as best I can with everything and all the pushes and the pulls that we have. But I will end that response with our health is more important than any job. Our family, for me, it's more important than any job. I'm confident I'm going to do well and devote my all to any job I have. And for me, the role that I have at Montgomery College is more than a job. It's a passion. It is a livelihood. With that said, I need to manage that with the other loves of my life, which are, my beautiful partner, Maggie, and our 2 kids, and my own health, right? And you learn that and you grow. I grow, right? There's been times where I've been really bad with that, and I've had to have people tell me, Jermaine, you need to take better care of yourself. So I'm not giving an hour because I don't want to promote that, but I've learned a lot in my career. So.
Dr. Williams, I'll read a question. This question was sent in earlier. So what are your plans for Montgomery College? Are there any specific goals or plans that you have for MC?
Yes, and I will share this. So initially, and sorry if this is repetitive, because I know Shweta asked a similar question, is to learn, to listen, to learn, to embrace our community. And that really is, my initial plan. Figure out what's happening, right? I'm still at the stage where I'm going into the building. Let's kind of level set. I'm in the stage where I go into the building and I'm like, where's the bathroom? Like, that's what I'm trying to find out, where the bathrooms are, right? So in terms of my plans for the college, that is going to be guided by a lot of conversation. And when we get to a point in time where we're identifying new plans and new goals, I want us to be in a place where it's not mine, it's ours, right? Even if you're hearing it from me, it's a reflection of what I've heard, right? So I may be the person saying, here is a plan moving forward. But that plan will be steeped in communication. It'll be steeped in partnership. It'll be steeped in what I've heard through my learning journey. And if it's something as robust as a strategic plan, it will be steeped in a bunch of processes that we have at the college that ensure inclusion and diversity of thought and just intellectual curiosity. So they're neither today nor any days following. I don't foresee a plan or a path that is solely, mine. It'll be ours. It'll be nuggets, and it's. I think one of the beautiful components that I hope is that with the current plans that we have and any future plans is that everyone's able to see themselves in that plan, and part of the educational life cycle that our students experience, and part of the MC community and family that we experience as faculty and staff trying to provide that educational lifestyle for the students who we care so much about. So I know we're short on time. I don't know how it became 6:55. I think it was the ice cream question, and for that I do not apologize. But I think that's how we got to be 6:55. So
yes, and we just wanted to honor some of the questions that were sent in ahead
yes.
of time. Kimberly,
Okay.
is there another one if we can get them in?
Yeah, I'll do my best. I will be succinct.
All right. What do you believe to be a good leader? Oh wait, we answered that one.
We did that. I think we did that. Yes,
we did that one. We did that one. Sorry.
Yes.
That's right. How would you motivate a group of people who want to be, I'm assuming this is from the students. So how would you motivate a group of people who want to be leaders or they're emerging leaders right now?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm going to be brief. I think motivation can be very individualized. And it's interesting. There was a study done about motivators and I'll call them demotivators. And I know I said I'd be succinct, and I said, oh, I'm going to tell you about a study. And people thought that, wow, so money is kind of a motivator or quote unquote a demotivator. What they found out through this study was what was motivating a team. It wasn't money. It was these things that I'm kind of going back to. I see, Dr. Brown mentioned and others. It was illustrations of compassion. When they went into a team member's work area, what they found that they were really most proud of was like a note from their supervisor saying, "Great job. I'm proud of you." What resonated most as a motivator with this study, and I can't cite the study, it was so many years ago, was that, wow, I went to Swetsha, my supervisor, and I said, I have this issue. And she said, you know what? You need to go home now. I know you're technically supposed to be here until 5, but we're human beings. You have an issue. Go home. It's 4 o'clock. The compassion that my supervisor showed me as a leader is what has, really motivated me. And I share that because I think it can be individualized, but also I share that to emphasize that sometimes we think things that are motivators, like we think, oh, give people money, it's a motivator. Sometimes it's not always the case. It's more of a different compassionate human level. But I think it is individualized. And I'll leave it at that because I know we have a few minutes left and probably 1 or 2 more questions.
I think this last question, what made you become the president of MC and what made you come to Montgomery County?
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, MC is fantastic. If I haven't been able to illustrate that through my voice and my smiles and my comments earlier, it's just, I will say there's several things. And when I reflect on this, one, the passion for students, and the passion to have students in the center of all that Montgomery College does, the way in which that passion transcends and is connected towards the individuals, the team members, the faculty and staff who support the students. So it's not only is it all about the students, but it's about providing resources and listening and providing opportunities for faculty and staff who support students. The emphasis on leveraging education to address society, right? It's not just about a credential, a certificate, an associate's, a badge. It's about how do we address social justice issues? How do we address racial, equity issues, right? How do we, pursue being an anti-racist institution? How do we look at, our society and say we're going to impact not social reproduction, but social mobility, right? And that Montgomery College is leading the way in, and I want to be part of that. And I'm happy, overjoyed to be part of that. So those are a few reasons why I wanted to be part of this community.
So I do want to point out the fact that we do have one student who just signed on,
Okay.
Damaris. So Damaris, we did have one last question, but if you have one question, we can fit that in.
No pressure. And if you don't have a question, that's cool too.
I'm really sorry. I thought it was later. I was in class and I kind of lost track of time. But I just wanted to meet the new president and get his perspective on basically everything that's happening. I know that MC is very diverse and students are affected in one way or another because we have friends that are from places that are affected in some ways. So I just wanted to meet the new president and get his, his mind on what his vision is for MC moving on.
Oh, well, thank you. And I wanted to meet you and all the students who are here. And that has already, your comment and your question has, you've shared so much. You've shared, the passion for Montgomery College, the passion for what is happening not only locally but globally. The fact that what does occur in our context outside of Montgomery College impacts us. It impacts us as students. It impacts us as faculty and staff, and it's something that we need to be cognizant of. It's something that we need to contextualize and identify how we move forward with that, because we're not, it's not Montgomery College in a vacuum. So your question is even enlightening me to the student perspective and what you're experiencing. So to that, I say thank you. Thank you. And as far as my vision, it is to be part of this, fantastic community that I can now say is our community, right? I am an insider. I am part of, Montgomery College and part of Montgomery County, and in all that we have illustrated and said that we want to be, and all that and I think for my vision, all that we aspire to be, right? And for what that is, and for what we think that is now, and for what we need to figure out, in the future. It's about, for me, my vision for Montgomery College is, again, I shared, it's to listening and learning, and figuring out how we, chart this path forward together, right? How we continue to not only meet the moments, but how we meet those moments in the future, right? And how we do that together. So that's succinctly put, what I'm really interested in pursuing in partnership with everyone. So.
And Damaris, just to let you know, the recording will be available to everyone on the, Melissa, can you remind me of where the YouTube video, the YouTube account?
Yes, it'll be located off the president's page.
Yeah, it's on the president's welcome page. The listings of the different events are there and the recording is there. It'll be there by tomorrow.
Just so that way, if you're interested in knowing what he had said either yesterday or today, you'll have that information for you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great. Awesome. Well, I think, what do you think, Dr. Brown, Chair Jones? I want to be mindful of the time and the hour. You think we're in a good place to?
Yes,
Okay.
Dr. Williams, if you'd like to make a closing comments. I think you can take us home.
Absolutely. I think that was a perfect closing comment. Really, it's thank you. It's with extreme appreciation and gratitude that I'm here, and I will endeavor to do my best and for Montgomery College, for our students, for the diverse communities that we serve, and that best will include the partnerships and collaborations, because none of us do it alone. We do it together, and we do it for our students, and we do it holding each other shoulder to shoulder, faculty and staff. And so I want to say, thank you. And again, it's my pleasure. And I look forward to this being just another continuation of the conversation that we'll have. So thank you all. Have a wonderful night, and enjoy the night, and we'll see everybody soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.